like losing 18 to 24% of whites are California, New Mexico, and Hawaii. The next set of states losing the most amount of whites is Joe Rogan's state of Texas, losing 12 to 18% negative. Of course, we have Florida, but see, they're getting a pretty good, I happen to like the Cubans. I like island Hispanic. So, not too many, obviously, but I think Florida's Florida's demo they're getting is I don't know, fits the environment. It's not just like what California is. I mean, we could get into that. And then of course New York State. All hellscapes, if you ask me. New Jersey, Connecticut, yep, it's a white exodus, and Illinois. And then the next group is losing 6 to 12% of whites are Nevada, Arizona, Kansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, West Virginia, which is very surprising, kind of bummed me out, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Massachusetts. Not surprised. Not the biggest. This one isn't a big deal. So the next is losing 0 to 6% of whites. You have Washington State, Portland State. I don't have to say state anymore. You have Wyoming, Colorado, Nebraska, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. I wouldn't be too stressed out about that, but this is when we start getting into the good states. Getting 0.1, a rise in Caucasian population of 0.1 to 6%. And by the way, I'm not saying people with white skin are better than people with dark skin. I'm saying that this is, in America at least, typically a sign that you're being taken over economically. Like, let's say in Nigeria, you're seeing this, except the opposite. If I was Nigerian, actually, I'd see it as probably an improvement. I don't know. I'll come up with something. Anyway, so Montana coming in hot, South Dakota, Tennessee, and of course, South Carolina. Great places to live. Then the next category of rising 6 to 12%. I am partially responsible for this next one because Idaho, I think I will take responsibility for that. I've now made 4 whites with just my, plus I've encouraged all my neighbors and friends to have as many children as possible. And so Idaho is crushing. And then, of course, Utah, the next place you want to live, and North Dakota. And then the area with the largest increase in whites is Washington, D.C. And by whites, they mean. So that's how it all runs. I know somebody wrote to me, oh, how dare you, Big Bear? I live in D.C. It's super dark, and it's about percentage of change. Yeah, I'd say D.C. is still at least 50%, other. But because of the Trump and Biden administrations, they brought in enough to actually change the demographics. Because in this setup, white means, of course, when they're trying to get $100 billion from Poland, it sure doesn't. But this is, so DC is actually the most whitening spot. And it's also because of their, the price to live there in DC is getting so ridiculously expensive that the Dave Chappelle bike thief type had to go to Ohio. Dave Chappelle had to flee and go to Ohio because he couldn't afford the property because he's from DC, So I'm going to go. So the 3 states and again, not making a claim on the character of individual people that are not white. I'm not even saying that whites are better because a lot of whites are the most cucked, loser, bootlickers I've ever seen in my life. And they refuse to have children and they suck. As you can see by the color coding, those usually exist in New York, California, New Mexico, Illinois, and Texas right now. Oh, Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire, don't worry about you guys. You guys are still around 0%, very little change. So what this represents isn't me saying that you know, one group's better. But if you're in an area that's red, watch out. I mean, I'm serious. It's like horrible. That's going to be a disaster. Like, okay, what are three of the states you definitely don't want to live in right now? California, New York, New Mexico, and Texas. Oh, how dare you? I'm Texas so based. You don't see the writing on the wall, baby. I mean, Texas is going to be actually parts of Texas are going to be great. Like San Antonio has a really nice Mexican population that's been there so long that they're not just shitting and pissing in the streets, you know? But a lot of other areas are really not looking good. And your super base governor is literally in a wheelchair, and any leader that can't walk is very questionable. All right, here's a comment. Here's a super chat from Odyssey. Even Houston is the new murder capital. Yeah, you're not going to be. I mean, the rhetoric. This is why I like to stay away from B areas. It's not because they're bad people. It's because their fake culture and the rhetoric around them through mass media is so toxic that I'm just staying away. Because, you know, the victim consciousness that, you know, they're owed something and, you know, they deserve to steal and all that. I'm like, that's totally not true. And the fact you believe it means I don't want to be around you. And I'm sure there's individuals that get it, like Carl Brown and all the guys that I've invented in my head. But I don't want to take those risks. There's no point to that. It's like some pit bulls are raised really well and they're sweet and loving and awesome. But if my son Jack is walking around, this little boy, like a 1-year-old is walking around, and you see a Chihuahua versus a pit bull, I'm keeping him away from the pit bull until I understand that the pit bull was raised really well and, you know, doesn't just bite and steal and kill. BB's real B hatred is bunnies. Exactly, Bowler Bear. It's not hatred. It's just like they got to go, man. They got to go. It just is what it is. They got to go. They need to be kept in hutches. They will destroy your gardens if they run loose. Yeah, but I'm gonna harvest all of them. I think it's a good mix I got going on here where it's like they get to run loose and they multiply like crazy, and then we have like an event. And then I lower the population to like 4 or 5 bunnies. Obviously the white ones. And the ones that are cute, like with the puffy fur and stuff. And so we get like 30 bunnies. We get all this fur. That's going to be a lot. I think it's way less work than chickens. Way less. Squid Game for bunnies. Yeah.